Minasan konbanwa. Welcome back to Tokyo House Party. We took a week off, but we're glad to be with you once again. We have a lot coming up tonight, so much as usual. Here's Momo, just for your moment. She'll be zipping away because, she doesn't love it here. So just to fulfill our promises, Momo's in for it. And I'll let Derek maybe tell us what's up for tonight.
Right. So yeah, we have a lot of cool things. We have some really cool updates. Um, if you weren't familiar from our last stream, we got Twitch affiliate, so that came with like a lot of cool advantages to having a Twitch stream. Like I can run a commercial break if I want to at any moment, so that's neat. Um, but we have a very special guest this week. We'll be talking to Andre Malcolm, who is a tattooed Itazumi Japanese style tattoo artist. And they'll be joining the show in just a few minutes here. And we also have Justin Doggett, who is another really talented individual who will be joining the show a little bit later on to give us some background on cold brew coffee. And so for other early morning risers like myself, if you need that kick in the butt to get you started, Justin Doggett's got you covered. Like, no kidding. Actually, both of them got you covered in two different ways, one in tattoos and one in caffeine. So, haha, that's my dad pun for the day. Um,
Please don't make it the last.
no, the rest I'll subject my family to, Um, yes. And then following all of that, we have a watch party. And for our watch party this evening, we'll be showing a segment of Miss Hokusai. And so for those of you who have Netflix accounts, you'll be able to join us through the usual watch party link or watch it on your own time. And we'll be capping off the evening with our other favorite moments from Sentimental Tokyo, who will be DJing some city pop music for you all. So I hope you're here to stick around.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. This is a lot of new stuff, and we probably won't touch too much on it yet today. But this show is going to be changing a little bit moving forward. We hope to move around a bit more, and have different guests and kind of vary things dramatically. So we're really excited to kind of let you know and slowly trickle in some of those details. We'll probably be sending you all some kind of email coming up in the near future, asking a little bit more about your own thoughts and kind of hoping we can get more conversation from you. So, again, as we're talking today all night, comment in whatever comment area that looks like for you, because we're reading them and we definitely want to make sure that this is a conversation with all of us. So, if you have questions for anyone on the show, this is certainly the time and place. And just to make sure we get things off on a high note, we have our contest winner from the Hello Kitty Kawaii or Kawaii contest. Derek, can you share the winner?
Yeah, give me just a sec here to get things switched over. All right. Actually, and then I need to make sure that I have the correct username because I don't want to mispronounce any of that. One sec
Oh,
here.
while Derek is so techy and professional with things that I have no idea how to do, I will let you all know that we're changing up the prize a little bit this time. We normally say that it's a Kizuki $50 gift card, but in light of things moving forward, we are going to send this winner a $50 gift card, like a Visa gift card, for them to decide however they want to use that prize. So this will be a little
Right.
bit different, and so we're excited. This person needs to let us know how to reach out to them, though, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that said, we do want to let you know, let Neko-chan 316 know. Congratulations. You were the one that we selected, or that was randomly selected for our prize this time. So, omedetou gozaimasu. And if you are here, make sure to make yourself known. Or if you aren't tuning in this evening, we will be reaching out to you on social media so that you can get that gift card. But congratulations. And for those of you interested in participating in um, our additional contests, just stick around. We'll be jotting down those details and showing you what's coming up for this evening following our conversations.
Oh, friends, it looks like Neko-chan 316 is with us. So
Hey, look.
confirmed we can find you. We're so glad. Congratulations again. Your everyone's artworks were amazing. Again, we draw randomly, but we're so happy for Neko-chan out there. We've got a
Super cute.
support lover in all the ways. So
Yep, yep. Really enjoyed all the different Hello Kitty faces that were tossed out into the internet. So we hope that more of you will participate in some of these other ones.
yeah, we had so many participants this time. I hope you all keep it going because we have a really cool contest coming up for us moving forward. Hang tight. We will announce that later. But just to kind of get our ball rolling so that we can more formally introduce Andre into the conversation, as we always do, we try to provide a little bit of context before our speaker joins so that we can kind of have some things to mull over and maybe ask them about. So let's talk about tattoos. Um,
Right.
we are super lucky to have Andre with us. That there's such a resource and innovator of Japanese style tattooing here in the United States. But let's first start in Japan just to get us a little bit grounded. So, Derek, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of those dogu figures.
Yeah.
So we're
Let's.
starting off so far into the past, the Jomon era. And the Jomon era actually has recently kind of been expanded in its reach to maybe 1600 or 1400 BCE. So this is many years ago.
This is
These are
way back.
things found in Japan, actually. Some of the first figures. And if you look very closely, this is where we first see tattooing in Japan. On these figures, you can kind of see a little bit of designs. They're made with ropes and different carvings in these figures, but it's understood by most scholars that this is the first kind of evidence we have of tattooing in Japan, and it's understood to be tattoos. So, moving forward from the Jomon era, and again, this is like I think these are at least like 1000 BCE. The
Mhm.
era that these were found, so they're pretty old. And I wanted to note that as we jump through space and time a little bit inappropriately for the moment, there's actually a really cool tattoo artist in Japan that's really interested in these Jomon era tattoos. Do you think you could share those with us too, Derek?
Got it.
Yay! Yeah, so this individual has actually started this project called the Jomon Tribe, and he has some exhibitions going through Japan, and he's doing some tattooing of some of these traditional kind of blackwork tattoos, I guess, from that era. So he's trying to bring them back a little bit and recalling the past. So anyway, that's a small digression, but I thought it was really too cool not to mention. So moving forward, tattooing kind of took a turn for the worse in terms of it being treated as something that would be as a form of punishment, something lighter than prison or execution for sure. Perfect, Derek. Thank you. Um, yeah, so this is actually even into the Edo period almost. These tattoos would be some kind of punishment if you did like some kind of petty crime, really. And it started with the ones on the center of the forehead. That's where you'd first get them, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But it was almost like in Hiroshima, those heads. That was a style done there where it was like a three strikes you're out system. So for each swipe of the character, the more you got, the more in trouble you were. And when it made the character die or for like big, that was game over.
Oh, boo.
Yeah,
Wow. Like
yeah.
the one game that I don't want to play.
No, no, it's kind of hard to like wear some kind of face covering that really, it's pretty damning about.
Hmm.
And then they moved into the arm area, and that's kind of interesting for us because one, it wasn't so damning for people because it wasn't on the middle of your face, but also it led to people being interested in maybe changing them into a different design if they liked. And at the same time, in the Edo period, this is kind of when we talk about ukiyo-e or those woodblock prints, right? And what's really interesting is ukiyo-e and irizumi are Japanese. This text called the Suikoden, which is a classic literary tale from China that really influenced woodblock print artists and also, therefore, tattoo artists. Kuniyoshi's stories of the water margin. These were really, really popular tales, sort of like Robin Hood kind of heroes and such, that really influenced woodblock prints and also Japanese style tattooing. It says we cut off, maybe?
Hmm.
Maybe.
We should be still present.
Okay,
Can you
I'm
hear us currently?
okay. But as you can see, these woodblock prints really elaborately display some types of just some tattooing. Oh, for a minute we did, just a second or two.
Oh, cool. Okay,
You
good to
need
know.
some clarification, let us know. I can bounce back. But yeah, so Kunioshi, Kunisada, Kunichi, there's a lot of kunis out there, and they all kind of have to do with the Utagawa name, so I try to differentiate a bit. But so basically, this is just to say this tremendous impact of woodblock prints and woodblock print artists on tattoo designs, because that's how they kind of merged. And so the technique was also something that kind of interplayed too. So, Derek, could you share the image of woodblock print carving tools?
Yep, and I have a few friends with that picture. So,
Hey, yeah. So just to show you that these tools kind of overlapped in some ways too. The smaller the carving tools on that set on the left, those are what are used to carve woodblock prints. And so some of these same kinds of ideas, it's kind of assumed that in the beginning it was perhaps woodblock print carvers that did the tattoos. So they were already skilled, they already had these kinds of ideas, and they were using the same kinds of methods with just black ink, though, in the beginning, this kind of poke. And on the right, you're seeing what are actually, over time, innovations in Japanese style, tabori style tattooing, which is like a stick and poke that you've probably heard of in other cultures as well. The ones on the right, though, if you're looking in the middle, that's kind of an innovation where now, of course, the needles are changed out every time. It's very clean, things are different. But it's actually has changed this term of irizumi into something that is more positive. And it even became renamed. If you were a tattoo artist, you were called something like horishi. And hori comes from the verb horu, which means to dig or carve. So many tattoo artists from Japan have this prefix called hori in them. So Horiyoshi, who we'll talk about, Horitomo, Hori something. And it's a name that's given to you. You can't take it for yourself. It's kind of a passed down thing, just like so many things in Japan. And I'm going to kind of zip through to many, many years later to present day, where we can just touch on Horiyoshi because I'm Horiyoshi the third. I want to make note. There's more than one, the third,
yeah.
who I believe Andre might touch on. So I want to make sure we can see who this person is. He is probably the most renowned Japanese tattoo artist in current time. How about? He's kind of like a pilgrimage that some artists make to meet. He's just like a legend, right? And there's I couldn't even choose which picture to show because sometimes he's so goofy and silly, and sometimes he's so serious. But he seems like a very interesting person. And he was, of course, interested in seeing Yakuza or some of the other kind of unfortunate turns that tattoos have connotations with in Japan when he was young, and decided he really wanted to pursue tattooing as a career. And later into his life, he came across this very popular tattoo artist from the United States, Ed Hardy, if anyone's familiar. And Ed Hardy was traveling around and learning about different types of tattoos at the time and introduced the tattoo gun. So it's not uncommon to see Japanese style tattoos both do the stick and poke, the tabori kind
Hmm.
of method, and guns, but they're different. Oh, someone knows Ed Hardy. All right. I feel like he's kind of known here in the United States, but I don't assume anything. But yeah, I think this will kind of catch us up to how tattooing has very swiftly moved over thousands of years in our 5 minutes of talking. But if anyone has any questions so far, we're here for it. But I think the questions are probably better for Andre. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's pivot over and we'll bring Andre in. And again, to the chat below, please, by all means, if you have any questions, I'll be keeping eyes on that chat, and we'll do my best to leverage them towards the conversation here. But
Actually, I should say, yes, we have a comment down below that there was an exhibit at the Field Museum on tattoos and his supplies and things were there for a time. Totally. I saw that too. I wish that they dived into each tradition a little more earnestly rather than skimming over everything at once. But I am so jazzed on tattoo exhibits. There's actually one traveling about Japanese style tattoos that was in a few locations, but didn't come to Chicago.
Oh, cool,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, well, with all that said, yes, if you didn't see it happen already, yes, Andre is now hanging out with us in the chat. Everybody say hello to Andre. Andre, thank you for joining us in this conversation. I know we spoke a little bit earlier, but I'm really excited to be able to engage on some of the stuff that we touched on in our earlier conversation about your background in tattooing and just everything in between. And so, yeah, just to start things off, please, let us know, like, how did this all start out for you, and where did you find yourself, pursuing Itazumi and Japanese style tattoos?
Um, or where to start out? Let's, okay. I started hanging out at a tattoo shop in the Bronx in New York, and it was owned by a famous graffiti writer. Is my volume all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You sound perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure between conversation, I'll probably show the viewers some images of your stuff as well.
Okay. My image is like flipped backwards.
Oh,
Oh, you talking about in the top part?
Yeah.
As far as, yeah, that's like, it'll flip it so that to the
Uh,
viewers you appear as though you're not mirrored.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good.
So I started tattooing in the Bronx. That was in 2001, but I started hanging out in 1998.
Mhm.
I was it was called Tuskegee Tattoos, and it was owned by Med. He was a famous graffiti writer, Med. Um, and I didn't know that he tattooed. I just knew that he did graffiti, and it was Med, Yes Two, and Cess FX Crew at the
Word.
time, and they were doing a mural for the business. And I was walking with one of my friends at the time, and I just saw them painting, and I just couldn't stop. I mean, I had to stop and just watch them. And I
Yeah.
had my black book with me. Luckily, that day I had my black book with me, and from there, it went from asking one of the guys, "Hey, can you do some artwork in my black book? I'll come pick it up whenever."
Right.
And when I went to the tattoo shop, that was like my first time actually stepping into a tattoo studio. That was in
Yeah.
1998. I knew nothing about tattooing at the time. I only previously saw tattoos on a few rappers, musicians back in the day,
Mm.
and probably a few people in my neighborhood that I lived in. But other than that, it was just a fluke, really.
Right. Right.
I had finished high school. I dropped out. I'll be honest. I dropped out. I didn't want to be in school anymore. I was like, I'm sorry if anybody's watching this and they're younger. Don't drop out of high school. I just did it because it was whatever. Um, I was in business. I wanted to be an artist. I,
Mm.
I was going to be like, you know what? I have a talent. I'll harness it some way. I'll make money. I'll make a living.
Yeah.
Um, and then um, I was hanging out there for a couple of years, and then I really needed to make a living, make more money, and I got a regular 9 to 5 job. I was working at the New York Stock Exchange.
wow.
Yeah. Wait, the stock exchange, like in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
way that we
Wow.
see that stereotyped in movies and all
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
hustle.
yeah. I worked
Okay.
there. Worked there for 3 years. I was a floor runner for a year, and then I got picked up by a brokerage firm. And that's how you work your way up if you do it that way. If you don't know anybody, or you somehow do get a job there, you can
Yeah.
work your way up that way. And once I got to a brokerage firm, I got picked up, and you have to be a broker after a while. So I was learning to get my Series 7,
That's wild.
and I was learning to get my Series. I was about to get my Series 7, and that day I got fired. but I was about to quit anyway because it was too stressful. It wasn't the type of environment I wanted to be in. Art was always calling for me. I felt depressed not drawing.
Yeah.
Um, and the money that I got from there that I saved up, I bought some tattoo equipment. I bought as many books on tattoos I could
Yeah.
get. Uh, Japanese style tattoos weren't even a thing in my radar at the time. I knew about it. I saw the tattoos. They at that time they looked very crude to me. I just didn't understand where's all the dimension to it. Where's all the Western more influence. The Eastern influence, that Japanese influence, I just didn't get at the time. Yeah, and it was just when I got to Tough City, it was more like a sink or swim kind of environment.
Yeah.
Totally different from the East, and it was like street shop style.
Yeah.
Knocking out tattoos one after another, and I was able to survive. I was able to 3 months in, I got a little bit better, and I felt cocky, and yeah, I could do this. And then when it was time to do using a different style needle, I was scared. It was crazy. But looking back at that, thinking about how that was, it was I don't know how I did it. I just kind of just did it.
Right. I mean, the motivation, the determination, clearly pulled you through that. But that entire from start to, I would say, where you are now, honestly, sounds like an HBO miniseries. Like if I were to see the beginnings of that moment, like whoever is starring as your character hustling through the stock exchange. And they I don't know, they drop some papers and their sketchbook happens to be in the stack with them, and somebody kicks their sketchbook. There's like some drama that's in there, and
yeah, it's funny. Something happened like that. I would bring my sketchbook with me to work.
See,
and it would have those little tiny
Yeah.
sketchbooks. I would just sketch in it. Do like a little. I was watching at that time. Toonami was big at the time, so I would draw like I guess like Samurai Champloo and
yeah.
that. Well, even before Toonami, it was I would just draw something from the comic books, and I would have it. And I remember a broker was like, "What are you doing here? You should be an artist."
There you go. So TLH Kuro says pitch it to Netflix. I feel like it's a good story. It's original enough. So you just like hit them up like, look, listen, y'all just maybe we'll get Ryan Coogler to direct it. Yeah, he'll
anybody that's watching this, anybody. I got the story. I have it written down. I have it in one of my sketchbooks. I wrote down, I think, my life, the first 10 years of my life.
Yeah,
crazy.
There you go.
I wanted to ask too. I feel like we spoke briefly earlier in the week, and you told us so many honestly fantastical things that I really want to just hear more about. But I know in the beginning of today, I kind of mentioned those Suikoden, these books from China that were really influential to Japanese style tattooing. And I think earlier in the week you had mentioned that books were also so important for you. And being in New York, like tracking down different books and going to these bookstores, and how they were really influential in your discovery of Japanese style tattoos, and kind of where you were getting your designs from.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. You know how that came about? I used to watch like murder mysteries with my mom. I used to watch like Columbo and Kojak and Murder, She Wrote.
Nice.
And they always did like research. So I basically just kind of like this is back in the day when you had a phone book. You had to go look in the phone book, and I would look up. Trusty that they had. Well, they, you know what? I remember looking it up in the book online too, but it just didn't have it. But I looked up Chinese bookstore, and then I looked up, and you just couldn't find it because the internet was so brand new at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember going back, and this goes back to like also playing video games and stuff like this. So what we're looking at right now, like the goldfish and the Kirin in the middle and the octopus. these are images that I basically, like the goldfish, let's say, like that was something. I remember going, playing video games back in the day. Like, so like this is probably from the, it would be, let's say, Nintendo, Sega, Sony days when
Hmm.
Sony first came out. There was in Chinatown, there was a mall, and in that mall there were all these different stores in there, but there was one part of the store they had video games. But in that mall there was a bookstore, and I just remember I just put two and two together in my mind, and I just started looking up different, books I could get my hands on. You
Okay.
know, when I started going towards the Japanese style of tattooing, and I was just kind of rabid about it. I whatever book I could find, I just I whatever money I made at the shop that day. If I made like $300, I'd go down to, I'd go down the next morning to the tattoo supply store. If they had books there, I'd buy some books. 'Cause in New York, there was a place called, Unimax, and
Okay.
it was the only tattoo supply store in New York at the time. It's probably a bunch now, but they were the only one. They had the monopoly, and they had tattoo books, and they had like old tattoo magazines, and also in New York, you could find certain newsstands that would have back issues of books.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you wanted a tattoo magazine, a certain magazine, company, they'd have like books. They would have like back issues, and so I would, man, it was a point where that's all I would buy. I would just, you get like a stack of six books for like, I think, $10,
Wow.
$5, or two for five, and I would just buy those tattoo magazines, and then and then I'd run to Chinatown, and I'd go get, I find this rare book. They had a Chinese bookstore that you had to like, you had to walk down the block. You go into this door that you can easily pass the door because you just never see it. You just had to look. You had to like kind of know what to look for.
I love that.
And you go upstairs and you're walking in, and there's like this Chinese family. I would just bow to them and ask them for, books on goldfish or flowers, and they'll send me to the area where it was, and I'd go and just buy. I mean, I'd be in there for like 2, 3 hours just looking through the books, and then they'd have brushes and all these Chinese brushes and inks, and, um, that was it. I just did just crazy research, and if I couldn't find books there, I'd go to a rare bookstore in Manhattan on 14th Street. It was, I can't remember the name of the bookstore.
Hopefully it's still there even.
I think it's still. I think they own the building.
Nice.
Um, and there were all these like rare bookstores. So you just look up bookstores, rare bookstores, and you just go from. I would go from bookstore to bookstore, and just look up. And at that time, it was like, you have any books on Japanese stuff? And they just point me to the Chinese section, and because they just lumped all of that stuff together, like Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, anything.
Not much has changed.
Yeah, not much has changed at all. And you just have to like kind of like it would be hours upon hours upon hours of my time I'd be in there, and just looking up, or just trying to get as much. So like my money was always, when I made, I would just probably put like $50 just to have something to eat for the week,
Hmm.
and everything else was going to like tattoo supplies and books. And, yeah, it was that was my life even up to now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
it during all of that, when that wave of sort of pursuit for this specific tattoo medium came about, do you remember when that transition hit for you? Like, was there a particular moment that you had saw a certain tattoo? Where did that intersection, kind of initially happen for you?
Um, it was probably was either living at my mother's place, or I had just moved out,
Mhm.
and I it was I wanted to separate myself from the stuff that was being done in Tough City at the time. I just wanted I, and it kind of comes from graffiti a little bit. Like, how do you develop a style that's all your own, or
Yeah.
something? How do you develop something that's just all you, or something that you can pursue yourself? And that was it. And I remember reading. I was reading this one tattoo energy magazine, and when I opened it up, and I'm big in comic books, so
Yeah.
I saw this one tattoo done by Philip Lou. It
Hmm.
was this black mask, but it had like teeth and multiple eyes. And I was like, that looks so cool. It looks like something Greg Capullo that used to do
Oh,
on,
yeah, I love that.
or it looked like Todd
Work.
McFarlane. It just
Yeah.
looked like something from, and I was like, I want my tattoos to look like that. And I just read about him. And then he talked about Ed Hardy. And then he talked about the Dutchman. And then he talked about all these tattoo greats at the time. And it resonated with me. And I was like, all right. He talked about Horiyoshi. He talked about Kurunuma as Horiyoshi, the other Horiyoshi, and and that was it. I was looking at this tattoo that Ed Hardy did, and I'm in my room, and I had a little shit. I drink champagne, so I'm drinking champagne. And I was having some herbal medicine
Yeah.
and to keep it clean, and it just clicked. I was like, and it's the same feeling I got when my uncle showed me how to draw a stick figure.
Okay.
This like light bulb hit me in my head, and it's this burning sensation, and it went from like the back of my head, the front of my head, to the back of my head, back, and I was just like, this is it.
Right. Right.
What I want to do. I just want to do. I just want to do this. I just want to do. Just want to do Japanese stuff. That's it. So anything
Yeah.
Japanese, anything that, because no one's doing this in the Bronx. No one's doing this in the Bronx. I was it. I was all about the Bronx, and nobody's doing this. I want to do this, and it was hard because now you have to figure out the formula
Mm-hmm.
for everything Japanese, everything, how to break down each shape and how to make it look as authentic as possible, or you know.
Yeah, I love that, and that's really amazing. It's the same thing from what my mom would tell me, and what you would, and also what we learn about in there's a book called Positioning, and when it comes to advertising and things like that, where you find your positioning in something, and that sets you apart from everything else, which is why when you think of cola, you automatically think of Pepsi or Coca-Cola instead of RC or any of the other brands, because they kind of hold that positioning for that thing.
Yeah.
But we have a few questions from the chat here. Hey, Fox Prince asks, did it take a while before you were able to charge what you felt like were reasonable prices for your tattoo work? Was that from the beginning, or did that have like a gradual
It's a
growth to it?
gradual.
Yeah.
It's a slow. It's a slow grind. It took me. I've been tattooing for almost 20 years, so I've been pursuing Japanese style tattoos for the last 17 years,
Wow. Yeah.
and the last 5 years is where I've gotten to the point where I can like charge what I charge,
Yeah.
because it's the amount. It's almost like med school. You
Yeah.
know, my fiance is a doctor,
Mhm.
so it's not like you just get this. You go to school for 3 years and you get this degree. No,
Right.
you're you know you first of all your grades, and your grades have to be ridiculously good from like high school. I think junior high school. You know, like she knew she wanted to be a doctor when she was in elementary school.
Wow.
She figured out what kind of doctor she wanted to do when she started med school. and from there that was it.
Yeah.
So it's like almost 20 years for her, So
Yeah.
tattooing is almost the same thing. I didn't get a formal apprenticeship, but what it was, I tat in the time I was in New York at the time, with all like with what kept me inside to keep me drawing and keep me out of trouble, and not that I was looking for trouble when I was younger, but just keep me out of what was going on outside. I had to stay in, and so that was the Giuliani years. It was the Bloomberg years. It was before those two was
Mhm.
Dinkins and then Koch.
Mhm.
So outside was just scary to me. I just wanted to be inside, and I wanted to draw. And from the time I was doing uh, um, drawing at a young age without any guidance, I had to like really teach myself. And luckily, I had my uncle and my aunts. They were
Yeah.
teachers, so my mom would always send me to Jamaica.
Oh, word.
So I
Wow.
would learn what
Yeah.
my uncle and my aunt were doing in art classes, and I'll just bring that back here. And I don't think they really thought I was really listening. Maybe my head was in the clouds. I was really listening to what they're saying. I just kind of like did it on my own. I was kind of like a shell. I was just like a little in my shell, and
Yeah.
so it was working at Tough City gave me the sink or swim mentality. Like, you know what? You gotta. What if you don't do it? Then what? You're broke. All right. You're on the street.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't. I didn't want to live like that. So my whole thing was just put as much effort into it as possible, and then learning the formula, and then getting to the point where I'm at now, where I can charge what I charge. It's just
Word.
Well, yeah. I mean, adding to that too, someone else had asked how many hours it takes to do a whole back piece, and I think that's kind of so
30
unique to
hours.
knee style tattooing because it's the ideal is these bodysuits, right? Which is really different from some of the kind of patchwork flash art that we see otherwise. And so getting that commitment of someone to do these pieces we've been seeing that you've been doing, I mean, that's a lot, right? And
Yeah.
how many hours did it take you to really could figure out all of that design, that whole layout, and for people to really sit down and see that start to finish?
Yeah, it's not just the drawing. Also, there's a
Mhm.
lot that goes into it. There's also the energy that, well, like it's how you measure out the body. You know what I mean? Like you have to be like really comfortable with somebody being naked in front of you.
Right.
It's like when you go to the Natural History Museum or the MoMA, wherever you go to see like the old masters, there's nudity. So you gotta kind of be like, you're gonna see up somebody's butt. You might see a vagina or penis, but you can't freak out about it
Mhm.
because this person. They want their whole back done. They want a full suit. They want a full suit, and you have to be comfortable with it. And then there's the art of just also tracing out someone's back. There's not a lot of tattooers that know how to do that. I had to teach myself how to do it.
Oh, okay.
Luckily, it was my mom can sew. There's like artisans in my family also.
Yeah.
Like my mom can sew. My aunt can. All the women on my mom's side of the family can sew. My grandmother taught all her daughters how to sew. Um, my uncles could also sew, but then they're farmers too, and one uncle does honey, the other one does coffee, sugar cane, all this other stuff.
Hey. Yeah.
So it was like, so if I saw what my mom did when she was sewing, I would watch my mom sew. I would watch my mom, and she moved her hand a certain way. There's like an art to how she moved her hand. It was,
Hmm.
I watched how my grandmother did it. She did it with just not even, she just looking at you and just move it. And so like I learned, I saw that, and I just kind of applied it. Like, well, I asked my mom, and she was like, "Oh, just do this," and I was like, "All right," and that didn't really work. So I had to I had to do it my way.
Yeah.
And the way I do it is really efficient, because if I show another tattooer, they're like, I never thought about doing it this way. It's because even that aspect of like making the stencil is something that like not a lot of tattooers know, because the information is not given to all. It's only
Okay.
a, a chosen few know how to do it, and even the ones that I've worked with that have been tattooing way longer than me, they have a way bigger name than me. They didn't understand how. They were not even taught how to do it, because the they just didn't know how to do it. The knowledge of it to do it wasn't wasn't there, and it made me think like, oh, why is that?
Mhm.
And so what I've attained for the last 20 years is a lot of it's like self-taught. A lot of it is I'm just self-taught. I had to like just learn it. I had to like use my. It's kind of crazy to say, but I had to use my imagination.
Right.
It's
Right.
kind of like asking myself how to do it before I went to sleep, and
Right.
then my brain somehow did it in
The
my sleep,
subconscious. Yeah.
and then I would take that to work. Like, oh, let me try this, or let me try that. A lot of it was trial and error.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I wonder too, because someone also asked, and I am so curious too, because when the times that you're speaking about, Instagram wasn't a thing, and like tattooing is like this popular cultural form of expression wasn't really looked at in that way quite yet. Not, and it's
yeah.
still probably emerging in that way still, but they wonder if Instagram has dramatically, make sure I capture this because it was a great question, if Instagram has dramatically changed the type of folks who come to get your tattoos, and is there a general trend of folks who are interested in getting Japanese style tattoos? And if
Yeah.
kind of
Instagram is probably one of the best tools.
Mhm.
Instagram and Google, the internet. Let's just say the internet in general. The aspect of how algorithms work.
Mhm.
Because no one was ever talking about algorithms a couple years ago.
Right.
It was just like it
That
was.
was
It was
not.
always talked about, but it wasn't. It was talked about to a chosen few because that's what it was. But Instagram dramatically changed everything for me. I could never get into a magazine. I was black, so
Right.
I didn't see a lot of black tattooers in any of the major tattoo publications.
Hmm.
I didn't see any of that in tattoo blogs. Like it's always kind of like um, for I would say like what people expect. It would be a white man or a white woman, but more white men than white women,
Hmm.
and just white men in general. And then you probably see a few Latin men, but they would look as white as possible, and
Yeah.
it's kind of still like that. And I remember sending some of my tattoo pictures in, and the at that time, Tough City wasn't recognized as a tattoo shop because it was a graffiti orientated shop. So there was all these different biases when I first started. Oh yeah, they're up in uptown. Nobody goes up to the Bronx,
Yeah.
and it was, you had so much. There was so many different gatekeepers that I think when Instagram, let's say like when MySpace came out, and then when Facebook came out, and then Instagram just basically shot everything through the roof because it was, MySpace had more of a coding aspect. You can code more with that, and then Facebook a little bit less coding, whereas MySpace is just. I mean, Instagram was just so stripped down. It's like post
Right.
like comment, and it made it easier for me to just basically draw something or tattoo something and post it, and then somebody will come and get tattooed by me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a slow aspect. Um, and I guess when they started using GPS with it now, like share your location, I think that's where it made it easier for me. And then also I moved out of New York. I couldn't stay in New York anymore because it was just
Mhm.
like imagine you're in a bowl of like goldfish and you feel like you're just another goldfish. And I
Right.
think California is just a larger space. So I moved when I moved out here, it was 10 years ago, and um um there was I just bought that New York hustle with me, and I just kind of was like, all right, I'm just gonna do what I did when I first started. In my 10th year, I was like, I'm gonna do what I first. I'm gonna have that same energy I had in my first year,
Yep.
and just apply myself, and that's it.
Yeah.
But but Instagram, was Instagram around 10 years ago? No, it
Hmm.
was like the end of Facebook. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the end
Yeah.
of Facebook into Instagram. But technology is what is the best thing. Like I didn't have to worry about a magazine. I didn't have to worry about a tattoo blog. I didn't have to worry about it. It was just show my work, bam, that's it. And then
Mhm.
someone would comment, follow. I show another tattoo, I'll get like 1,000 followers a day, to the point where it was like it was kind of not overwhelming, but I can say I want to do this, I want to do that. And I think as I started doing more and more ambitious work and posting on Instagram, it made it even better.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the. I always enjoy that aspect of it for somebody who is a creative, somebody who, in any aspect, is providing a service, can provide this sort of almost direct to consumer aspect. This in using a platform within social media and getting the opportunity to. In an environment where you normally might not be able to receive those advantages, be able to decide those advantages for yourself, and hustling away in a digital medium. um, and I think that's phenomenal that that has enabled such accessibility for people who are interested in your work. um, One of the things that, so there are a couple other questions, and I even have some thoughts that are crossing my mind. But one of the things I want to try out is, one, encouraging that people take a water break, stretch, stand up if you got to do that. And while we do this, I'm going to see what happens if I run this 60-second ad break, so that we can get an opportunity to rest our esophagus, drink water. And so you at home, do the same thing, but we'll be right back in just a moment with the rest of your questions. Let's see. Good to go. All right, so chat, let me know. I don't know what kind of commercial you get during those moments. I can't decide it, but I hope it was relevant to your interests and it felt like a little TV moment. But yeah, I hope you took an opportunity to stretch, drink water, and all of those things. We absolutely want to get to these other questions that you have here. And I believe, Sarah, you already marked one of them, or
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like this is going to be something we're going to want to talk about towards the end of our show as well, and kind of reach on. But someone asked this very poignant question about when creating such large pieces, as we've been kind of panning through. Derek's been so cool to share them as we talk. Do you follow a specific formula, like a focal point, and build out? And what was your first full back? Was it terrifying? Did it click immediately? Like, did the like a click by click he means is a or they mean does a calm set in? And I think that's like that's a question I would love to know more about too. Is when you create your designs, I'm sure that you are referencing these books and some of the things you mentioned previously, but the design element and how you use this template that you were talking about for someone's back, and how do you even begin?
So like these three right here are non-specific gender uh, back piece designs. Um, um, so this formula is basically just how I would get an idea of general idea of a back piece. But when someone comes in now, since everybody is like their own unique shape and size, they come in. I have a tracing paper. I trace out their whole back, and once that's once that's traced out, then excuse me, I do we sit down in the consultation and just talk about what do you want to get. So like the octopus is just a design of an octopus. There's a lot of people I've tattooed and they love octopuses. Kieran is the one in the middle is a mystical horse. Only gods can catch a Kieran, and then there's the goldfish. Goldfishes are cool. I love them.
Yeah.
Um, but like Cassandra right here, she came in. She's from San Diego, and she was following me for a while. I was following her. I think we started following each other around the same time. That's how Instagram's algorithm works.
Yeah.
And she contacted me. She wanted to get her back done, and she said she wanted the dragon, and it was a cover up on her left, above her left butt, and there's one cover up in the middle, and middle of her upper back, and basically, this dragon is from a famous print from the Kano Hogai school. And so I just used the initial form of the dragon and I applied it to her back. Cassandra works out a lot. So I wanted the dragon to have a motion of its jumping out of water. And it was like that. She came from San Diego. We did a tracing of her back. The way you see it ends to her lower, the back of her left knee, up top is I basically traced out her back just like that, and that's basically um, um, one of the formulas I follow. And I do thumbnails, so I draw small and I draw big sometimes.
Yeah.
But the thumbnail is a formula I've taken from classical painters and also comic book artists. A lot of comic book artists they use thumbnails to get down the general composition, form, movement, all these different things, and that's just basically the it's generally simple and stuff like that, but it's also technical. The technical aspect of actually, if you can get the tracing down just right, everything else works because you're working within that space. This tiger back piece is something that I did on a fellow San Francisco resident. I can't remember his name. His name just slipped my mind. I feel bad right now. But he had previous work from two other artists, one on each arm, and he came to me and wanted to get a tiger design for me. And this is a form that's not really. I wanted to, like in this one, I just wanted to do something totally different.
Hmm.
I wanted the tiger to move a certain way. So it's kind of rearing up. I don't know if you've ever seen when tigers. It's like a cat. You know, have you seen cats? How house cats kind of meow, and they kind of
Yeah.
punch up
Oh
and they
yeah, yeah.
roll over like that. That's kind of like that's what I was going for right there. And I was like, well, tigers do that, and tigers do that. They're just a bigger form of a house cat.
Right.
And so this is what I was going for. I was going for a tiger kind of like rearing up. So he's just, one paw up, one paw down. Um, and that's what when I first initially did this, I used a thumbnail. I wanted to get the general form on how strong can I make this. Um, um, and that was it. Yeah, this is it, the formula is always the tracing of the back. That's the
Hmm.
main thing. If you get the tracing down right, um, everything else works. And he has large shoulders, so the tiger had to look like it's complementing his back just right. The tiger's
Yeah.
back is muscular. Tigers are all muscle. You ever seen a tiger jump? They jump about almost 16 feet
Yeah. Yeah.
if they wanted to. So I
That's a
wanted to show strength in this. I wanted to strength and power, and this is what I kind of spewed out of my brain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you're willing to give us all of these kind of candid responses to your design approach and this we really appreciate it. This is great. I wonder if just so we can note, there's no butts here. Twitch doesn't like butts. We like butts. So if you're wondering where the butts went, you can check out Andre's work on his website and Instagram because the booty is really important in those bodysuits, and I hear it's extremely painful. I wonder if anyone's curious on the whole bodysuit production. What do you find to be the most difficult bit of anatomy?
Um, I would say, I the butt challenged me for a while. I guess where your butt and your thigh meets,
Yeah.
that crease, that was a very hard thing to figure out for a while. And the more and more back pieces I've done, it's kind of like I don't really worry about that anymore. It's more like um, with one of the more challenging places is probably the lower leg, but I've gotten that science now because I've done enough legs now. Now I know what to do and what to. It's the challenge is getting more people to get back pieces. That's the
Hmm.
challenge. It's the challenge is talking someone into getting a suit. I'm either doing I want to do back pieces or bodysuits. Like I want to
Yeah.
do as many as possible. I'm 41 now, so I would love to do at least another 500.
Yeah.
Wow,
That'd be
I love
I'm close
amazing.
it.
to 100 back. I'm close to 100 back pieces.
I have to say that's
So
impressive. You have so many bodysuits down, and I know for Japanese tattooers that's such a struggle getting someone to commit their whole body. And you really have so many great examples. I feel like people must have so much trust in you. It speaks a lot about your ability and your relationship with your bodies clients. Yeah.
clients, yeah. I think it comes from the clients because I think it's if people see the work, it's the work. I think when people see the work, they're like, oh, it looks good. I want to go to him.
Mhm.
And that is just comes from trying to be as efficient as possible.
Hmm.
I don't I don't really beat around the bush. I have everything drawn out. I have everything. I have all the black and gray work. I have all the line works down. I have all the black and gray shading down, and I'm just ready to go. Just ready to go. And I think that's what works. Is being as efficient as possible. Like it's kind of like you ever been to You ever been to a Porsche? You ever see how Porsches are made, or like how Teslas are made? Like I went to the Tesla plant one
Oh, right.
time.
Yeah.
It's just pure efficiency. It's just like they have. You kind of have to be machine like. You can't be on some, like because then if you're spending, 80,000 to $100,000, you want that kind of service, right? So it's that's what I have to. Um, that's what I'm living up to, and everybody
Yeah.
gets treated the same. I don't care who you are, but it's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's. I got it. Let's put all that. Let's put everything aside. We're going to do this, and this. Because when you come in now, you see the drawing done of your back because I've taken a tracing of your back, and I've taken a picture of your back, and this is what it's going to look like with the lines on you. This is what it looks like with the everything. So
Hmm.
it's yeah. When it comes to that type of money, you want that kind of service.
That's great. Yeah, I have some other comments that I'll circle back on that later. But one of the other things that came to mind in what you were saying, as well as sort of chimed up from some of the viewer questions, the content that goes into these back pieces and the elements that make them up. When you talked about the composition and the reason why you chose the dragon or the tiger, are there any other elements in your experience that you've ended up discovering new context for, as far as what they might mean, or is it sometimes just a matter of a client coming in and saying, I just want a koi, and that's it, or does it end up becoming a small back and forth where it might start with that, where they say, oh, I'm just coming in for a koi, and you might go, hey, just so here are the sort of contextual significances of what a koi means, and it's and why it's flowing upwards, and other elements like that go into your pieces.
Yeah, I mean everything has a backstory. Even this one when we're looking at the kitsune, I always feel like foxes are playful, and the story of kitsune, and there's so many different stories of kitsune.
Hmm.
Even if somebody wants to get a tiger from me or koi fish, it's, well, how do I make this koi fish look? How do I capture the jumping aspect of this koi fish? How do I capture the movement of the water a certain way?
Hmm.
I want things to move over the body a certain way. I want it to do this. So like I really that those questions that I have in my mind all get worked out on sketches.
Yeah.
So, like I'll do a thumbnail, and each thumbnail is a different idea. Each thumbnail is yes and no.
Hmm.
It's working the problem out, and then finding the best one, and that's kind of it. Like it's I put that much effort into it.
I think that's great.
I think of like how to make this tattoo look cool to do. Like, oh, I like I like everything of this back piece um on her,
Hmm.
because on Shay has this fox, and it's dancing, it's jumping through, it's jumping on the rock, and there's peonies at the bottom and the tail, and well, what would this fox look like if it was, you know jumping, she's, well, it's a fox dressed up as a woman. So I looked at a mother at home. There's a print that I was looking at. It was a mother at home, and she's dancing for her baby. And I was like, all right, I'll just take the lady's head off and put a fox's head there.
Oh, word.
And I looked at those fox dogs. I looked at all these aspects of what a fox would look like: black foxes, white foxes, snow foxes, all these different foxes. And I just kind of like, oh, I like this look. It's is it menacing or is it smiling? Like, is it, like, is it, how is this thing gonna, like, you're not just gonna look at this fox's head, but you're also looking at how the head is kind of tilted and it's jumping, and it's like, this is I took I took that idea from looking at Prince. I'm like, what I was saying to myself, what was Kuniyoshi thinking about? You know,
Hmm.
was he captured this mother dancing for her son? So I just switched it up a little bit, and I just kind of put the rocks in and the flowers and the tails, and she's she's a smaller frame, so I said, oh well, the tail can move over here and the tail can move over there, and you're not just going to look at the tail. It's not going to be in just the body alone to look at. You could
Right.
when when Shay's on the beach and she's walking, you can see, yo, what's that on her front leg? Because it wraps around
Right.
to her front,
Oh,
the
cool.
legs, and I wanted that aspect of it, and so you at every angle of her body you can see something.
I love
Um,
that. Yeah. I mean, I think
and
what's cool is like that's the beauty of tattoos is not two dimensional, it's three. And I think sometimes we look at these photos, it's harder for us to appreciate the kind of sculptural kind of quality that you must be thinking about.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
it's it's
Definitely.
it's yeah, it's overwhelming at times because you just want something to, you know, I want to wear it. It's kind of like, I want to wear
Right.
this. You know, if I had the extra skin in the closet, I'd take it off, take this off, put this on. And it's kind of like that. It's like that aspects of my brain with it. I want the tattoo to look as fun as possible. So
Definitely.
it because another tattoo that sees it, they're like, yo, this thing looks cool. Oh, I wish I could have done something like that. So that's something that I'm always working my way out. Even if you look in the background, there's like that African doll right there, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking in that doll because I was watching. I just remember listening to this thing. And it was like giants that walked in Africa. I was like, was that well? What happened to that giant? Was in the sea and it was coming out of the sea. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
oh, it looks like it's coming out of the ocean. Look at like how small the waves look. The waves don't look as big as it would if it was like a smaller figure, but this is a giant coming out of the ocean. I try to put my mind there. Like, what would that look like? What would
Hmm.
that thing look like if it was coming out of the ocean and the waves were smashing against rocks and coming back against that this big doll that was coming out onto land? How would that look? So
Yeah.
each thing that I kind of draw is like then and I think about like how a comic book artist would think about like how does Capullo want to draw Spawn this day? How is he going to draw Batman? What was he thinking when he did that? And I try to apply that to my tattoos, so everything has a distinct look.
Yeah. My favorite part about this is the composition and using. I know we when we were originally talking about this, we talked about how you at first didn't know how to approach what before understanding it, what looked like just 2D elements that it didn't have any dimension. And now you're at this stage where you're creating these tattoos that they look alive, they have characterization to it. The kitsune that we were just looking at had. If you looked closely at the image a moment ago, I'll pull it back up for our viewers. But it actually has a dragon hiding in the kimono that it's wearing, and I think that attention to detail is phenomenal, and just your attention to craft there. Um,
Yeah, that was kind of like I have a book on kimonos. Each of
yeah.
these books that I bought years ago, I still kind of have. So I didn't want to draw the dragon super clean like it would be on a. I wanted to make it look like it's fabric like. So there's not. I did it. I held the machine super loose. I didn't have a very
Oh, okay.
tight grip on the machine, so I kind of was like going loose over the skin,
Yeah.
heavy with the needle. So it's hard to explain. I just had a big needle and I went loose over the skin with it, and so it has this fabric to it. It has this. If you would look up close to it, it's not super clean, but
Right.
then we got shaded on top of it. It just has this
Like creating texture and
this element that like
dimension. Yeah.
something I wanted to capture on skin.
In making each of these designs, what has or and maybe this answer is for you, and maybe the question has two answers, or maybe it has one answer, depending. But what was what was your most challenging experience developing tattoos like this, or doing a suit on somebody? And then what was your favorite one as far as content, or maybe every single one of them are your favorite one? There's no contenders here.
There really ain't. There's not a main contender. I can't say which one's my favorite one. But it was attaining the knowledge,
Hmm.
attaining the how to get the formula. Like like it's 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 paying attention to um it's paying attention to what the artist did, like Hokusai or
Yeah.
Kuniyoshi or
Yeah.
Kumasada. It I had to uh, get rid of my Western eye a little bit.
Hmm.
A lot of Western culture. Get
Yeah.
rid of that and think like how they did it, but have like a modern look to it.
Yeah.
It's going to be tattooed, so I try to I try to get the formula. I learned to get the formula. Who because there was not anybody willing to teach me a lot of that. I had to kind of like go to. I mean, there was. I can't lie. I'm not gonna. I misspoke. I'm not gonna say I lied, but I misspoke. And there was probably like two or three people that showed me what I should be. They were like, "Wait, you got a lot of it down," but it was kind of another artist, Regino Gonzalez and Jose Soto, and a few of the different shops that I worked at, Skull and Sword, but or Japanese tattooers have met a long way. I remember when a artist showed me how to do a maple flower. I mean,
Hmm.
not maple flower, maple leaf, and I he did it in such an easy way. I was just like, what? Because I was doing it
Yeah.
in an uneducated way that it made me have to go back to what he was looking at, and it was
Yeah.
Hokusai, or it was Hokusai, it was Kuniyoshi, but Hokusai is the father of it. Hokusai is the one who shows you how to get the formula down.
Yeah.
Follow his formula, and everything that you draw will will will, will have that look.
Hmm.
Pay like really pay attention. Don't get rid of get wipe everything out of your mind and look at what study Horyo. I mean Hokusai. I mean to this day I still look at Hokusai because it was like if I had a problem I still look at him to get the
Yeah.
answers.
Well, I wanted to note too. That's like such a great. We heard that in our conversation before with you that you had mentioned Hokusai being such a great influence to your work and to your perspective, and some of the old manga that he created, which we don't have an image for. I'm so sorry, I could have, but um, that's a bit why we chose the Hokusai for everyone. Is after having our conversation with Andre, thinking about how something to follow up this conversation, you can kind of see how these elements and how these perspectives kind of inform some of the things he's saying. And so if you are hanging on for 8 o'clock when we start that, Miss Hokusai is coming up too. But I also wondered if in our short time that we have left, somehow I told you this zips by so fast. If you could tell us a bit about what made you interested in Japan and why Japanese style tattoos.
Um,
I know, in the short, the shorter.
it's hard. It was hard. It was something that I wanted to learn something that like nobody knew about where I lived. I just wanted to be different. You know, like there's more kids I see these days doing um, that are into Japanese culture than it was like in the 90s. You couldn't find that much, you know what I mean? There probably was, but I'm blown away by like cosplay. I'm blown away by like how it's blown up. But I when I was doing it, there's probably only a few, man. It's like a few in your neighborhood that knew about anime and stuff like that. And I think anime was a big influence on me, probably from when I was like 10 years old when I saw like Akira for the first time,
Yep.
and it was part of an escapism for me. And Jamaica. A lot of the stories that I in Japanese folklore are kind of like stories I grew up from what my uncles would tell me or my grandmother would tell me.
Mhm.
So like these ghost stories and little people and frogs chirping at night. It's
Mhm.
probably the battlefield going on. Frogs are fighting, but it's really maintenance season. But it's weird, Like it it drew me to that. It made me want to just like do something that reminded me of back home when I didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah.
Back in Jamaica when I didn't have to pay rent, I just woke up when I wanted to wake up. I didn't. My family was self sufficient for so long. I wasn't. Money wasn't a thing for me. I didn't care for money for a long time. I just woke up whenever I wanted to wake up, and I I ate when I wanted to eat because we had all this land. And when I have for breakfast, I just had some fruit, and I would sleep in the trees and just chill out. And when I would see how they drew, when I saw how like Hokusai drew the countrysides, I was like, that just looked like Jamaica to me. Or
Right.
when Kuniyoshi did it, or Kunisada, it would remind me of like the islands. When I want to go to the beach, I will walk away and I'll be in the beach. And so uh, I just kind of it just Japanese art kind of reminds me of when I was growing up when I was a little
Yeah.
kid, and I want to go back to that now. I want to be a little kid again. I'm sorry, man. Being an
Yeah.
adult sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too
Manipulating
many
Um,
and
too many bills.
sympathize.
yeah, but then it was also the art. The art, it was something just different. It's the people are cool. Like it just makes me happy. Honestly, it makes me happy. I makes me happy. I try to be as happy as possible because it's just the amount of stuff that I saw saw growing up. It was just like I don't think any kid should be around a toxic environment.
Right.
And yeah, that's basically I got into tattooing and then saw how like when I saw what could be done, I just wanted to push myself.
Mhm.
I wanted to be a lot more ambitious with my art because it was something that nobody in my family did. Tattooing is not a look look it's looked down upon. Tattooing is looked down upon in my family. I'm probably the only one in my family that has tattoos. My cousin now, my cousin and two of my cousins have tattoos, but
Mhm.
I was the first one. I think.
Right.
I just um um I just wanted to be different at the time. I wanted to have like my own lane I could be in.
Yep.
Um, you know, yeah,
Word.
just yeah. It gave me a life. It gave me a life. So like when I said I wanted to go to Japan this year, I wanted to give at least 2 months of my life there and just go to all the shrines and pay homage and just at least donate like, oh, I made this amount of money from doing Hokusai, so I want to go to the Hokusai Museum, his donation, like something like that, because I used him, he used his daughter's artwork to finance my life. So it's um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm fortunate, really fortunate
I think we can all like
to be in the
sympathize.
position I'm in.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like there's so many of us in this chat and us that can totally hear what you're saying, and I think you're in good company in these feelings. uh,
Absolutely.
No.
yeah. I
I
wonder
have
if you might,
one
yeah.
I have one sort of final question, kind of with a bit of the time that we have left, or if we can squeeze another, depending. But um, for any of our viewers who are asking themselves or have asked themselves before if they can see themselves becoming a tattoo artist, what do you say to the individuals who want to make that first step and step into that lifestyle? How do they jump in?
Um, I would. I don't know how I don't know how I did. I know what I did, but I lied my way in. I'm sorry, I lied my way in, but I would say I think it's a lot easier now because there's a lot more shops out there.
Hmm.
I think COVID changed a lot, but if you can find a tattooer that's on Instagram or Facebook or Google that's in your area, look at their work. Look at their work, his or hers work, and ask them, pest them. You have to be a pest. Don't take no for an answer. You know, pest them, man. Like um, and I say do your research.
Yeah.
Do your research. It's kind of because there's a lot of false information out there. This is not a tattoo school. I don't trust tattoo schools. I
Mm.
kind of, um, but I wish it was like some type of like formal education for tattoos. Like once you're in this thing, this is what you need to learn.
Right.
Um, but that comes from an apprenticeship,
Hmm.
But it's like you have the tool, which is your phone, so you can just literally look up whoever you want to look up.
Yeah.
Um, do not discriminate. You don't know if don't discriminate if you're a woman and you're looking for an apprenticeship and it might be a guy. Don't just look for women to teach you. Don't look for just men. Like if you're a dude, if you're a man, and this woman right here is dope at tattooing, go learn from her, man. Like I think that's another thing too that people have um relied on is they're looking at the sexes, and I think it's just look at the artist, look at the person as an artist and not as what their sex is,
Hmm.
and or their skin color is or whatever. Go and learn if you really want to tattoo. If you really really want to fucking tattoo, you can't even go in it with a you can't go in it with um a prejudiced bone in there because you where this is gonna take you. I didn't know this is where it's gonna take me. I didn't know.
Right.
I was telling myself I was just gonna be a tattooer and just save my money and whatever. I didn't know I was gonna be living in California and whatever. So if you have an opportunity to learn from someone, take it. Take
Right.
it and it's gonna be a humbling experience because you're gonna be learning to do certain things a certain way. If you are coming from an art school background,
Hmm.
tattooing ain't like art school, man. It's a you're dealing with someone's body. They're sweating. They're bleeding. They're feeling pain. There are all these elements in it. You're gonna smell them. You know what I'm saying? If they fart, you gotta do a fart. You know what I'm saying? If they gotta pee, they let them go pee. You
Yeah.
know, if they ain't shower right, just gotta don't. It's so much to it. It's
Yeah.
just it's the best thing ever. It's probably one of the best things you can do. But yeah, pester your local tattooer. Go get tattooed by them too. You're gonna be spending as much money as possible, and that's one of the things too. I know some people. That's how got a they got a bodysuit and then they learn how to tattoo. That's a thing
Right.
too. If you just I that's something, because my thing is, if I'm going to teach somebody, they're going to have to come get a suit from me. They're going to have to get their back, and they're going to have to get
Yeah.
their arms done by me, and then I'll probably say, yeah, I'll do it. But I got to see your commitment. If you have a commitment in getting that much work, then your commitment has to reflect what you're about to learn from me, because I'm going to be teaching you something that you're going to be learning. You're going to,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the trade. So yeah,
That's
Definitely.
that's my
insightful.
method. The suit and sleeve and the front.
I love it. That's amazing. I absolutely I appreciate all the information that you've given to our viewers. The questions that they've asked have been really phenomenal, and the feedback and getting to hear about your experiences have been just so amazing. Sarah, do you have any additional words for Andre while we're here?
Yeah, I mean, Japanese style tattooing is something that's always really interests me. Here in Chicago, I've been doing my utmost to get some exhibitions around Japanese style tattoos and understanding that they're not two dimensional, getting bodies to come to. It's been very difficult, but seeing everyone who's out there doing this good work and changing perceptions and really providing others some insight into this world is so valuable. So your insights here have been just amazing, and we're just so grateful that you took all this time from your personal weekend to chat with us. And we hope
That's
it's
okay.
okay if we can keep you here for a moment so we can maybe let everyone know about the contest we have coming up and how it might kind of relate to some of your artwork. You never know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next contest for everyone, we are asking you, like we do in every other contest,
This
to
side,
create something from
can
yourself.
you get me the
And
charger,
using the
the computer? Yeah.
template that we're going to share with you, we're asking you to design your own back piece, your own Japanese style tattoo. And Derek has the outline so you can pick it up and drop in any design you like. And the winner of this contest will receive something from Andre, I believe. And with that, we want to make sure that Andre can also chime in with some things that he wanted to talk about in terms of his own personal projects.
Oops, that's the wrong thing. It's a different picture there. Let me switch it back. There you
We're getting there. But
go.
always, if you don't see the template here, we will put it up on our Instagram. We put it up on our Facebook. You can find it there. And again, you'll have 2 weeks to design this. Maybe you can take all the insights that Andre already shared to consider.
Let's
And
see.
Andre, if you're still with us, yeah,
Perfect.
cool. So, yeah, this is the template you're going to be working from and design any kind of Japanese style tattoo, what that means to you. Maybe you want to do your own research. Maybe it's going to be completely straight from your heart. All those things are great. So maybe you got some inspiration from all the designs that Andre shared with us today and his insights on how he sets up his designs too. And Andre, would you be up for speaking a bit more to some kind of prize from you and also your personal projects that you're working on right now?
Yeah, it sounds great. I'd love to give like one of my, I'll do like an artwork, like one of
Cool.
my bodysuit designs, and you can win that. What I'm working on right now, I just released a book on iTunes. Should be on Google next week or a week after.
Cool.
It's drawings by Andre Malcolm. Originally, it was I just put it out there just to put it out, but in the circumstances that happened in the last couple of weeks, for the month of June, I'm donating all sales to the young lady who filmed George Floyd's murder, because I think she's going through some, you know, trying times right now from
Right.
just doing that and threatening from cops and
Right.
different people. And I think this will help her with if she ever needs therapy or just to get on her feet. So the money will go towards her. I was going to do it to the NAACP, but I think this is a little bit more personal. I think
Hmm.
this is meant for her.
Yeah.
This is for a good cause. And so this month, I would like to help her out, and hopefully this goes to her family also, and make her life a little bit better. I know money is just a weird thing to give someone, but um, it's weird. It's I think she needs that. So that's basically it. I'm taking appointments now for tattoos. Uh, uh, you can make an appointment on my website, Andre Tattoos at AndreTattoos.com.
Yep. Drop the link.
And that's about it. I'm currently working on another book. My plan is to do 2 to 3 books a year,
Nice.
of just drawings. Um, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Gosh, and once again, Andre just put out this book of drawings, and I believe that Derek linked it somewhere.
Yep. You
Cool.
should see it in the chat.
So check it out, and like he said, all of the profits that from this book this month will be donated, and it's a really amazing book. Definitely check it out. You can see more of his artwork in really fine detail. So definitely check out that book. Definitely check out his website and his Instagram, which is just full of amazing stuff. So yeah, we just want to thank Andre so much for everything tonight and all of his insights.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This has been an
Yeah,
amazing
this is
conversation.
cool.
To our viewers at home, you can find Andre online. His tattoo site is linked there for you. But don't go anywhere because we'll be swinging back in with Justin Doggett from Kyoto Black Coffee to kind of talk about some very cool things involving cold brew coffee. So stay right you are. I might try this like 60-second ad again, and I don't know, maybe you'll have an advertisement about Snickers or something like that. But don't go anywhere.
All right.
And all right. So again, thank you to Andre for joining us. Thank you to our viewers for all the questions that you have asked us today. Now we have Justin Doggett, who is the creator and founder of Kyoto Black Coffee, and I'm going to spend very little time talking about it because they are the expert, and I want them to have the floor and being able to explain. But Justin, if you could just give us a rundown of what Kyoto Black Coffee is and what's the difference of it all.
Yeah, sure. So Kyoto Black is basically a brand that I started back in 2015, and it revolves around a packaged version of Kyoto style coffee, where Kyoto style is basically a slow drip style of doing cold brew. Typically, when you make cold brew, you would steep the coffee grounds in water, almost like tea, and then you strain that. Um, I figured out that doing a slow drip style, which is the Kyoto style, actually gives you a more concentrated coffee. It's smoother, it has cleaner flavors, it's just more developed, and it also tastes great a bunch of different ways. So I
Yeah.
became really obsessed with that style and decided to package it and then start a whole online subscription service around that. Since those 5 years have passed, it's become much more than that. I now distribute kegs to various local businesses, including Cindy's Rooftop and uh, Bad Hunter, a bunch of different bars, Soho House,
Did you
and
say
then
kegs?
yeah, kegs of
Oh,
coffee.
wow, that's
Yeah,
phenomenal. Yeah.
yeah, so it really blew up. And then I just opened my brick and mortar, my first brick and mortar after 5 years. So that's been really interesting. 2 months ago I opened that, kind of in the height of COVID. So it's been really interesting navigating this whole landscape right now. But I became obsessed with Kyoto style coffee back in 2011, where I first heard about it. I was a barista just getting out of college,
Hmm.
and just picked up a part-time job just at a cafe, and I ended up getting lucky that the cafe had very high standards, and I was able to learn a lot about the theory of making coffee, and I
Yeah.
just totally geeked out on it. I learned about extraction percentages and using something called a refractometer, which is a little sight glass that you put drops of coffee into and you measure the extraction of the coffee.
Wow.
So there's like a whole kind of chemistry, like coffee is an art and a science. And I just really loved it. So I ended up staying pretty much in the food/coffee industry for 9 years now. So yeah, it's been just a really great journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
actually, I wanted to note too that if anyone is familiar with the Japanese Culture Center community and you've been to our events in person before all this came apart as we are now, Justin has come to almost any event we've asked him to attend and has been there with his amazing wife, and they are serving coffee there. So maybe you've tried it before at our other events in real life. He also had this really cool bike contraption that you were
Yes.
Oh
moving
yeah,
around.
yeah, I still have that too.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah. So
thank
I
you.
wonder if anyone out there has already tried Justin's coffee or Kyoto Black coffee before. But now that he has brick and mortar, I feel like
Yeah,
it's just changed. So we're here for it.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I personally was wanting to, in preparation for the stream. I, of course, was mostly glued to my computer, but I was trying to figure out if I could get over there in time while you were open today. But I mentioned to you earlier, it just so happened to be that a friend of mine who was tuning in also stopped by. And they're personally another huge fan of cold brew, and they were really thankful about the history of Kyoto Black and what goes into it. Speaking of that, I want to give the floor to you to be able to show our viewers, talk it at any length about Kyoto Black Coffee,
yeah.
and if you're able to, provide any demonstrations. And so, yeah, please, if you could help us understand what goes into making Kyoto Black Coffee, what that process looks like. I know you expressed some DIY elements even, and
Right,
so
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
please have at it.
I can start a little bit about the history of Kyoto style coffee. So, contrary to the name, Kyoto style coffee is actually not originally from Kyoto. It originates from Holland, and it
Oh wow.
became called Kyoto style coffee actually in the early 2000s. I want to say maybe like 2005 or six. If you're familiar with Blue Bottle Coffee, they're a
Okay.
San Francisco-based coffee company,
Yep.
and they were making their first ventures into opening the Japanese market up to their company. So they were sending, different brand ambassadors and stuff like that to Japan.
Hmm.
And that's where they really started to learn more about Dutch coffee, which is what it's called in Japan.
Okay.
It's called Dutch kohi. And it's really funny actually going to Japan and talking to them about it because, when you say Kyoto style, they're like, huh? But as soon as you say Dutch kohi, they're like, oh, okay. But in any case, though, Blue Bottle actually decided that from a kind of branding standpoint, calling it Kyoto style coffee would just be cooler. So that name really took off in America because they're the ones who introduced America to the style.
Got it. Got
So
it.
in America, we call it Kyoto style coffee or Dutch coffee. They're kind of the diehards. Like, have people like myself, for example, who will still call this year's tower this year's tower.
Yes.
I'm sorry, World's Tower this year's tower. There's still people who will call it Dutch coffee in America.
Yeah.
But in Japan and also in Korea, which is where the style is very popular, they call it Dutch coffee instead of Kyoto style. But in any case, though, the reason it actually made it to Japan in the first place is because during the Dutch East India Company trade, there were stations in Japan. So one of the stops was in Nagasaki, for example. And one of the benefits of Kyoto style coffee is you don't need heat.
Oh,
So
okay.
let's say you want to make coffee on a boat. You don't necessarily want to start a fire
Right.
for a lot of different reasons, right? You don't want to unnecessarily set the boat on fire. You also don't want to waste fuel. So they would cold brew coffee to travel. And it also turns out that cold brew, when made very strong, is incredibly stable, which is one of the reasons why I can ship my coffee to all 50 states. I can mail it. The concentrate is just so stable. Just from the strength of it, it's one of those kind of properties of coffee
Wow.
that it actually does not go bad very easily. So it was perfect for seafaring. And just funny enough, in the kind of trade aspect of going through Japan, Japanese people became very interested in the brewers. Like, what's that over there? In that kind of fashion,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I get all the, the artwork that you're bringing in and stuff, but what's that like? So, uh, Dutch coffee ended up taking off in Japan for that reason about 400 years ago.
Wow.
So, describing the process of what it's like is, if you can imagine, you have a kind of a three compartment brewer. It's very much like if anyone's ever done like a pour over, like a Chemex or
Hmm.
a Hario V60 or anything like that, where you have the middle chamber, which holds the coffee, the bottom carafe, which collects the brewed final coffee, and then a top kind of dripping chamber, which holds the water that you slowly drip using a valve. And you drip that water through one drop at a time because you need that contact time to be very long. When
Mm.
you brew coffee, usually you use heat. Now, the heat will speed up the process of brewing so that your typical cup of coffee will take 3 to 4 minutes. When you use cold water, that's a lower energy process. So you need to use contact time as a
Yeah.
replacement for the energy of the heat. So that
Mm.
one drop at a time aspect allows you to introduce the water in a slow enough manner that you can actually have the contact time necessary to fully extract the water or to extract the coffee. If it was not a one drop at a time process, the water would just drain right through and you get a very weak under extracted coffee.
Right.
So, to speak to the DIY process of it, originally why I started doing Kyoto style coffee at home, was because I wanted to get a brewer. I had some Kyoto style coffee at a local cafe, and I thought it was just a very interesting process. I actually didn't enjoy the cup of coffee that I had. I think that's in part because at that time, Kyoto style was still in its infancy in America. So people had not quite nailed the technique of it. It's one of those unfortunate things that on the surface it looks easy to make coffee,
Hmm.
but if it was easy, I wouldn't have a business. It's kind of funny. It's actually quite technical. I would say that
Hmm.
it's not necessarily difficult, but it's technical. So
Yeah.
I thought the style was cool. Didn't quite like the product that I tasted, but I thought I could do something with it. So I went and Googled and said, "Oh, let me go buy one of these drip towers." And I saw that they were like $350. So I was like, "Oh, let me go and build one of these drip towers then and see if I can kind of MacGyver it together." So I went to the Science Surplus store.
Mm,
Yeah, and
love
just
that place.
yeah, it's a really awesome place. I felt like a kid again. It was so great. It's
Hmm.
like a toy store for me. But in any case, though, because I remembered that in my chemistry classes, we had something called a separatory funnel. And a separatory funnel is this right here. I'm going to pull it out. So it's made from a borosilicate glass. It's very thin glass, and what it has is a this thing right here, which allows you to slowly drip the water
Very cool.
one drop at a time into a solution. This is typically used for a process called titration, where you are basically trying to create a chemical reaction, and you want to introduce one chemical to another, but you have to find that critical point where they form the reaction, because sometimes if you add too much, the reaction actually won't happen.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect vessel for adding, those chemicals in kind of controlled manners. So I figured that I could use that, which I knew was an affordable piece of equipment because it's still mass produced, with a lab stand and an AeroPress. So this is an example. It's kind of a tall thing, but this is an example of the Kyoto style brewer that I built at home. So it uses an AeroPress as this center chamber to hold the coffee grounds. And
Okay.
if you go and Google Kyoto style brewer, you'll see that this is pretty much exactly what they use. They just use a glass version of it, and then they have a little spiral thing on there that looks like it does something, but honestly, all it does is break. That's
Yeah.
really its entire function, is to break and be $35 to replace it. And then I also have a nice little just coffee carafe at the
Yeah.
bottom, but that's an $80 total cost to make this Kyoto style brewer at home. It's super fun, and this was what got me started. Since then, I scaled up. So just to give you some kind of idea of how I scaled up, this when I brew with it, it might produce like half a liter of coffee concentrate,
Hmm.
and now I'm producing maybe 25 gallons of coffee concentrate each brew.
Wow. That's
So
phenomenal. And
yeah.
so, has your and I apologize to interrupt the the conversation that you're giving us here. Has your setup, has that process evolved for you as well, as far as the DIY elements and what makes up the pieces and parts, or have those parts also become bigger as well?
Oh yeah, so all the parts are bigger. Everything is just like pretty much the same thing, but just
Hmm.
like scaled out in each direction. you know, like yeah, it's just a bigger version of everything, and it's also made of plastic instead, just because having glass pieces this big is
Yeah.
heavy, and if it breaks, that's it, right?
Yeah.
But I was able to find a lot of actually there's some stainless steel involved too. Basically, beer brewing equipment has been a real lifesaver for me,
Hmm.
because there were already kind of existing vessels
Yeah.
just used in the beer making community. So
That's amazing. I saw we have a question from Space Dragon. Hi, Space Dragon. They said, "Does this process use more or fewer beans?" And to expand on that, when it's done and you have your brew at the bottom, how far does that go as well?
we and just to make sure I understand that second question, could you just elaborate a little bit, like when you say how far does it go?
Yeah, to what volume, I guess? How long does it last? How long can you stretch the brew that you have? What portions does it use? Is it used in? I guess when your brew is done, does it supplement a specific amount of cold brew for an individual?
Okay, so basically, so for one, it's just to give you all the information that I can about the brewing process. It's a 16-hour process in total. So whenever you brew uh, coffee, the coffee grounds will hold on to a set amount of water. Typically, they'll hold on to about their weight in water.
Hmm.
Um, it changes depending on the grind setting. There's a lot of factors that will change that, um, but that's generally going to be the case. And when it comes to the Kyoto style brewing itself, like ultimately getting down to why I actually like it, this question segues into it. You'll see. Um, you can use, so let's say you have your standard immersion style, and then you have your Kyoto drip style, right?
Hmm.
So we can all imagine, we've all seen maybe a barista making batches of cold brew for the cafe, right? Like just kind of
Yeah.
peeked in on that. And essentially what they're doing is they're taking ground coffee, putting in a large, like almost like tea bag, and then soaking that in water. And then they pull it out, strain it, and then you got your cold brew, right?
Hmm.
So let's think about that process, that immersion process. When coffee is getting extracted, it's floating around, the grounds are floating around in an environment, right? And that environment is made up of water and extracted coffee,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Coffee itself is just water and extracted coffee, right?
Right.
And then when you pull those grounds out, right, they're wet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's stuck to them?
Well, you have water left
Yeah,
over. Yeah. Yeah.
but also extracted coffee.
Okay.
Extracted coffee is stuck to the grounds, and then you're going to throw that away, right?
Hmm.
So you've gone through the trouble of extracting the coffee from the grounds, or let's call them, cellulose, just so we kind of separate them as a thing, because the cellulose is kind of a substrate that holds on to the actual coffee that we want to extract, right?
Hmm.
So you have these cellulose grounds that you remove from the water, and they're still wet with water and also with the coffee solids that you extracted. So if effectively you're throwing away the coffee that you extracted.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that ends up translating into a weaker product
Right.
versus the drip style, where you have the coffee grounds are locked in place here. The water is allowed to flow through and then drip out. These grounds, they're always holding on to water, but since you're allowing the coffee solids to come out, the cellulose grounds that are left in here are holding on to a higher portion of water and a smaller portion of extracted coffee solids with each subsequent drip, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's something that I've dubbed drip efficiency.
Oh, cool.
Drip efficiency basically means that the water that's being held by the cellulose grounds is a higher percentage of pure water versus water and coffee solids. So now instead of taking those grounds, those cellulose grounds, and throwing them away with coffee still stuck to them, with flavor still stuck to them, you're throwing them away with just water stuck to them as much as possible.
Hmm.
That allows you to use the same amount of coffee grounds in the initial brew, but less water,
Okay.
because the water extracts more efficiently
I
in
love
this
it.
process.
Yeah.
So for that reason, you're able to create a stronger concentrate. And then as far as like what comes out at the bottom, this is where the kind of art of it comes to. That really depends on where you want to take your coffee. I can make my coffee really as strong as I want to or as weak as I want to, but I can also develop different flavors because as you change the water ratio, the coffee ground to water ratio, that will change the expressiveness of the coffee as well. So that's where the error can come in, and where maybe I like something but you don't,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I've made it in a certain way to express certain flavors. Maybe you don't like those flavors.
Right. Right.
So, really, what comes out is whatever you want to come out once you know what you're looking for.
Got it. Got it. There was a question from Hi Kudasai. Hey, and they said, "What was your thought process in selecting your coffee bean from flavor profile? What do you think works best for Kyoto style?"
So, I have two core blends. It started off with a dark roast that is a full city roasted Brazilian coffee. Full city just means like it's a dark roast, but it hasn't been pushed to like super dark. It's just at the cusp of being dark. And then a medium roasted Guatemalan coffee, and I mix those in proportion. It's a very funky proportion. Like it looks like the old like British pound system where it's like 1/16 of this.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like a really funky proportion, but it totally works out for what I was looking for. In terms of I wanted to have a coffee that tastes the way coffee smells, if that
oh,
makes
okay,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah, so that was like what I was really dialed in on for my dark roast, because I was like, people like dark roast because they like the way coffee smells.
Wow,
So
that's
I want to have a coffee that tastes the way coffee smells.
I love that.
And yeah, that's I hope I nailed that, like in
yeah.
terms of what I actually produced.
Yeah,
but that was my kind of inspiration. And then for my light roast, which is called Purple Label, I ended up going with a an Ethiopian blend from Counterculture called Apollo.
Okay.
And one of the things that I like about Apollo is they focus on using coffees that are very seasonal, and they don't necessarily try to keep it to be a strict flavor profile, because a lot of blends they try to say like we need that profile to be like the same thing every time.
Yeah.
And they just go, hey guys, we have these farmers that we work with. We're not farmers. We trust what they do. We know that they understand our standards and our parameters. So we're going to just let them treat their crop as best as they can and give us the freshest crop. And we'll pay them the most that we can pay them for that crop. And then we will do the blending of it and just try to like get that to taste like what people can expect to have a continuum of flavors. And sometimes it pops with really nice stone fruit. Like now, there's a great nectarine flavor that comes from it, and then
Cool.
sometimes it pops more so with like this kind of like lemonade, like a really nice sweet lemonade. So, but I picked that coffee because I really love what Counterculture does with their Ethiopian blend, and just kind of the ethos that goes into how they treat that coffee. They're not trying to impose a sort of monocrop culture on their providers. Instead, they're just
Hmm.
saying, hey, let us just give you the runway to make the best coffees that you can. Send them to us, and then we'll put them where they belong.
Cool. Cool. Um, I think that's really great. I hope this doesn't put you too much on the spot, but is there a way that we could what is Kyoto Black like when it's finally distilled and it's in the cup? Is it a full pour? Are there any is there any final steps that you do or final treatments that you do when making that ready to sip drink?
Mhm.
I know on your Instagram. And I linked your website, but for people to go find out more about Kyoto Black, we have a Twitch command for it. Type Kyoto Kyoto Black, and that will take you to Justin's site to pick up your own bag. But you there's been some mixology involved, and there's been
Yeah.
some cocktail experiences. I'm not going to ask you to do that part, but is there a way that we can see what Kyoto Black looks like in a glass if you happen to have it nearby or anything like that?
Actually, I'm such an adult. I don't have any on me at the
Okay.
house because I've just been running around parenting
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's understandable.
but there's like plenty of material on the website, so definitely check that out, including the blog. Check out the blog,
Yes.
and it'll show you how to build your own Kyoto style brewer if you want to get started with that project. It's a lot of fun, and I've had several people kind of reach out to me and ask me about how to build their own Kyoto style brewer or how to like
Cool.
get things going. So definitely feel free to email me if you have any questions. It is justin@kyotostylecoffee.com. That's my email address. I'm happy to
Excellent.
field any questions about Kyoto style coffee. And also in that blog, there's a video that I did at CoffeeCon. So there's a whole presentation where I give a audience a rundown on how to do Kyoto style coffee from start to finish. So you can
That's
watch the video.
wonderful.
It's there as well.
You're
Um,
so kind and generous with your time. Thank you so much.
That's
for sure.
wonderful.
Tell everyone where they
Um,
can find you, not in your home, but where they can find you physically otherwise.
yeah. So now my location is in Edgewater, so it's at 1445 West Devon Avenue.
Great.
And that's right across the street from Devon Market, which also has like the best selection of waters ever. So I'm a big aficionado of natural spring waters, and they have a bunch of waters from Romania and from Belarus and all that stuff. And I really love those natural spring waters. So definitely stop by there if you are looking to get some super interesting. Like they have some waters that are like very salty, like they're naturally
Oh,
very
okay.
salty from mineral salts,
Hmm.
and I just love that stuff. So I think maybe one day I'll even do like a water tasting on my
That's
Instagram because
cool.
I'm super
Yeah.
big fan of it. But yeah, to answer your original question about Kyoto Black, so one thing that you'll notice when you first look at the cup is like it comes out very dark.
Hmm.
It's just like very thick, dark, and like very transparent.
Hmm.
Even though it's pitch black,
Mm.
it's like very pure because there's
Cool.
like not really any sediment in the coffee.
Hmm.
One of the benefits of doing the slow drip style is if you can imagine like you've all heard of like sand filters before, right? Sand water filters where like you pour kind of like mucky water into a filter and then it kind of goes through the sand and comes out
Yeah.
relatively clear.
Yeah.
So coffee grounds, the cellulose grounds, perform the same kind of filtration mechanic. So essentially, all those little floaty bits that you get in your cold brew, that sediment, that residue, they get filtered out by the grounds themselves.
Okay.
So I'm actually kind of taking advantage of that, that physical property. So you'll notice that it has a very like kind of supple mouthfeel, and the sweetness is not just on your tongue, but the sweetness is actually on your lips. You have taste receptors on your lips as well,
Yeah.
and the in your throat. So you will get kind of like a full mouth experience of the sweetness of the coffee. You'll swear that I put sugar in it or something like, yeah, because it's just the sweetness is just really turned up on it, and it's very aromatic. Has what I would say is a bouquet of
Yeah.
aroma. So what I tell people when they first get the coffee is you want to drink about 4 ounces of it at a time, at least starting off. And I like to just have a little like demitasse of it with ice. Just
Okay.
get, nice ice cube, and pour 4 ounces over that, and then sip it and let the ice melt, and just kind of chill with it. Maybe like you're reading a book or something, or just relaxing, listen to some music, and maybe like sit with that 4 ounces for like half an hour to 45 minutes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just kind of watch it change. And that will give you all these ideas about what you can do with the coffee, because I concentrated that coffee flavor and that profile perfectly so that you can add as much water or milk or whatever you want to add to it, and it's still going to be perfectly balanced. It's just going to be stronger or weaker coffee flavor, or
Yeah.
like mixed with different other ingredients that you add. So
Right.
for example, coffee tonics. I Coffee and tonic water is just like a very incredible drink. It used to be where espresso tonics were the thing people were trying to, really promote. But espresso, it actually has like a lot of oil and a lot of, like kind of sediment in it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it doesn't actually play very well with the tonic water. But the Kyoto style is so transparent that it actually really integrates with the tonic very well. That's part of the reason why me and David Moore, who is just a very, very talented bartender, why we ended up working together to craft a coffee cocktail recipe book in a project called Breaking Black.
I love it.
And yeah, and we have just all these different coffee central uh, recipes where instead of saying, oh, let's just like make a coffee version of a martini or a coffee version of this, we said, let's take coffees that have their different profiles. We have a coffee from, Ethiopia or Kenya or Colombia that has this profile. Let's look at that profile and see if we can integrate spirits into the coffee.
Hmm.
So we end up with these really cool drinks. Like, for example, there's one drink that's an amuse bouche that is a warm drink of cold brew coffee, cherry liqueur, and imperial stout. If you know the old
Yeah.
Rasputin imperial stout,
Okay.
so it's served like Turkish coffee, like in a little demitasse like that. Heated with a lemon hibiscus cookie is considered to be like the best pairing for it,
Wow.
and it's just like such a good drink, and it really accentuates the coffee flavor. So that's just been a whole different thing, because typically when you see coffee in any sort of cocktail recipe, it treats the coffee almost as if every coffee is the same, and like literally you just add coffee to something just to give it coffee flavor. And we're like, no, let's craft a drink that is something unique that doesn't necessarily taste like coffee, but has coffee in it and is inspired. So we would say it's coffee driven.
Yeah, yeah, that's really great. I love, especially coming from coming from a mixology interest. I don't have a mixology background, but I absolutely love what goes into crafting cocktails, and insofar that I have Please Don't Tell and the Imbibe and the other kind of
Yeah.
really great books on my shelf, but. That hit all the questions that I had, but there was a question from one of our viewers, Unglu 3D. They said, "What is the caffeine situation for this style of coffee?" And I guess maybe they're asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is there, per pour, is there more caffeine, or and I would imagine so because it's more concentrated, correct?
Yeah. So basically, the way it works out is because a serving is 4 ounces, you would end up with about the same amount of caffeine,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, I'm using, a set amount of coffee. I'm just using less water,
Yeah.
which concentrates the flavor, but the caffeine quantity is really just determined on the amount of original coffee that I used. But as kind of like a shorthand measurement, I would say per ounce compared to drip coffee, you would say per ounce it's going to be like 2.5 times as strong,
Hmm. Okay.
just on an ounce basis.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you wouldn't sit and drink a 16-ounce cup of this.
Right. Right. No. Oh wow. This is a really um, just bountiful amount of information. I am personally looking forward to being able to swing by and be able to get some. I know that I'll be absolutely. If not after this, after wrapping up with you, if buying my own bag of Kyoto style, because since I couldn't make it out there today, but that I will end up having some because I absolutely love coffee, and often use a Chemex on my end.
Which
Um,
is great.
yeah, it's those have been my favorite obsession, for about the last like 2 years or so. But
Mhm.
is there any other information that you want to put out to our viewers at home about Kyoto Style, about your new brick and mortar shop? Are there any events, of course, slowly coming out of quarantine, but is there
Right.
anything that you just want us to know that we can keep an eye out for, and what you might be up to?
Yeah, so right now, my hours at my location are very restricted. So it is Friday through Sunday, 10 to 1, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So 3 hours during 3 days a week right now. There are a lot of reasons why I do that. Someone actually, very perceptive customer came in and he said, "Is this just this brick and mortar? Is this really just the avatar for your online brand?" And I'm like, "That's 100% what it is. Like, you totally nailed it." Like, and but I do want to provide more kind of accessibility. So I am going to be opening my hours. I'm thinking maybe 5 days a week to start off and just see how that goes before I just fully commit to 7 because I do have a newborn baby.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're definitely going to be opening those hours up very soon. Adding also food to the menu. So I don't know if you guys know Gurney Donuts. They are my favorite donuts, quite
Word.
frankly. Also, I love Beacon Donuts too. Beacon Donuts are great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be bringing Gurney Donuts in, and there's also a local baker who right now works for Alinea, but he
Wow.
bakes out of a shared kitchen, and he's just starting up his own brand. So I'm going to be putting him on in my location as well, and he's going to be baking small, sweet and savory loaves.
Wow.
He gave me a gluten-free almond orange blossom cake that was just really good. So
Wow.
yeah, so I want to definitely put him on and help him kind of build up his brand.
Mm.
So when he's ready to like kind of get his production going, we'll bring him in as well. So expect to see more food options. And
Hmm.
then on the drink side of things, East Imperial Tonic is a brand that I really like a lot. So I just reached out to them. They are going to be providing me with my tonic, and I think it's the best tonic out there.
Yeah.
It's pricier for me, but it's the best, so I'm gonna carry it.
Right. Right.
And so yeah, I just had my samples come in, so that will be on soon. And then right now, the menu is very abbreviated. It's just draft coffee. I have bottles and then pouches to take away. And then I'm going to start adding some of my sig drinks, is what we call them,
I love it.
signature beverages.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites is actually a bananas Foster iced latte, which uses real bananas, toasted raisins, nutmeg, cinnamon. It's just really awesome,
Holy
just
crap.
incredible drink. I remember I had a guy, I did a pop up, and he ordered one, and he was just kind of chilling, drinking it, and he's like, "Hey man, let me get another one of those." And it's one of those kinds of drinks where it's like you wish you could just get that in like. Actually, I just thought of an idea. Like stop selling that by the gallon. Like,
Yeah. I love that. I love that there's
like yeah,
there's opportunity for ideation here
right,
because
yeah, just like
yeah, yeah.
it's like why don't I
Uh,
sell that by the gallon? It's
yeah. Yo Gurutu asked, "Is there a book available to purchase yet with some of these cocktails?" I imagine.
So the book is actually still in process, but we're surprisingly, like for myself, we're surprisingly far along on that book. So, and then we actually are in talks with the publisher right now too. So we do have a publisher who is giving us some guidance and saying, "Hey guys, don't write too much because honestly, like we're gonna give you so much guidance in the whole process. Just give us the skeleton of the book, and then we'll
Wow.
take it from there." So we're gonna get that to the publisher before summer's up for sure. So
Wow.
expect that book to be fully available very soon. I don't know because it's on their end as to when they want to publish it, but just know that like we are in the process of getting that book actually delivered to a publisher. So
Awesome.
Wow.
And you've just been like killing it since we met last. I have to say, you're just killing it over there. And we're just so glad that you could kind of join us. And we're hoping that Justin can come back and we can learn more about Kyoto Black and maybe see the contraption in his shop and see what else happens into the future because we're doing a lot of things coming up that we will be trickling information about. And maybe Justin can come back again because his coffee here in Chicago is so amazing. And we hope everyone else can get a try.
Yeah.
thanks. I hope also maybe we can sit down and do a little bit of a tasting of something, like just sit down and just taste some things. And
If I could just have like a this Kyoto style kind of coffee flight, that's
yeah,
what's been in the back of my mind the whole time. But yes, no, I am absolutely eager to link up in person, to talk coffee, and then just to hang out. I'm sure our viewers here are. Oh, Unglu 3D also says congrats on the new baby, but I'm
thank
sure
you.
our viewers here are also looking forward to being able to find Kyoto Style to purchase it for themselves. Once again, that link for getting to your own bag of Kyoto Style is here in the chat. So please drop by Justin's site, learn more about it, and get some for yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
And just to add too, I think what we're kind of hoping to share with you on the show now is that we're really happy to kind of bring on some of the individuals within our own community that are doing lots of cool things with Japanese culture here in Chicago. So we're just so grateful that we have such a vast community of really cool artists and craftspeople, and we'll keep doing this. So we're just so grateful. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate what you guys are doing for the culture here. The Japanese like otaku kind of culture. Like
yeah.
it's crazy. Like I wish that there was something like this when I was in high school because
Man, me too.
yeah. So it's like I know that what you guys are doing are inspiring like the future otaku. So just keep doing it and keep putting out those good vibes.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here, Justin. Honestly, stop by Tokyo House Party anytime. Any last words?
Just
Yeah,
find the link, boom, crash it.
yeah. No, yeah. I don't know if it's a permanent link, so I didn't just. But you're most welcome. This is we'll be talking to be like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, it was
Um, no, that's
oh, Mr.
hilarious.
Joe's not doing it.
We will be doing some hopefully in the future. There might be a kind of a let's play video game component to this. We're still in a bit of a brainstorming phase on that kind of stuff, but it obviously will need the energy to keep us going. So if maybe having Kyoto Black will definitely keep
Yeah.
paces steady for gameplay. But thanks again. To our viewers at home, what we're going to do, we'll be right back. I may or may not throw another commercial at you because I'm really obsessive about this new feature that we have, and hopefully they're not too annoying or intrusive. But if they are, let us know and I'll cut it out. Anyways, we'll be right back. What we're going to do next is transition to Miss Hokusai, our Netflix watch party, which we'll be providing a link for shortly to hang out with you while we're all streaming that at home. But please give a huge thanks to Justin for stopping in. And from us, Justin, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you for
you.
having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot
Yeah,
of fun. So.
absolutely. All right. Well, viewers, we'll be back in just a moment. So don't go anywhere. And Oh, and the picture does not show up. Let me try this one more time. I'm going to flip back over. And well, there's this. This isn't what I want to show you right now, viewers. There's something else that I'm trying to give you as far as an important update to some stuff that's going on. Let's see if it works now. There we go.
Yay.
So we have some really cool, really cool things coming up. While we had been working on the different episodes that we'd like to give you for Tokyo House Party, we've been talking with a US based manga publisher called Saturday AM. And if you haven't checked them out already, please go look them up. I know I have a link ready for you to make your lives a little bit easier to go check them out. But we have a special two-part episode featuring not only the creators of Saturday AM, but a few of their mangaka to talk about their experiences with creating manga and in creating especially diverse manga, because all of their creators come from a wide variety of backgrounds, that being not only Black and brown individuals but LGBTQIA plus. And so we're really interested and really excited to be able to bring them on and so that they can talk about their experiences in relation to anime and manga and how they're now creating new media derivative of all of that. So that said, be sure to set your calendars. We'll start updating the sites and social media here soon, along with Saturday AM. But be sure to set your calendars for Saturday, June 27th and Saturday, July 25th at 2 p.m. Instead of our usual time, because we'll be doing sort of a Saturday brunch with them. And so it's kind of like along with their whole theme, it's kind of like getting up for those Saturday morning cartoons and having your Fox anime and Pokemon and Toonami and all those things ready to go. And so we'll be doing that along with that. And then who knows, we might see Justin along with us again as well. So please look forward to that. We're really excited to talk through all these different talented mangaka, all the different creators of Saturday AM, and definitely go check out the site.
Yeah, we're so jazzed. We've been holding onto this one for a beat, so we're so jazzed. And just a little bit of that foreshadowing about maybe Justin's coffee keeping us up, even if you've had if brunch is still kind of early for you, we can maybe still bring it forward. But that being said, we also wanted to remind you once again about this episode's contest. So thinking about all the things that Andre mentioned during his extremely insightful conversation about where he draws materials and ideas for his designs and Japanese tattoos, and also thinking about Ms. Hokusai, which you're about to watch, and thinking about all of the design elements that they talk over in that film, some of Hokusai's drawings, his manga, thinking about all the things that you might want to mull. Create your own tattoo design, and we have that template for you. It'll be up on our social media. Again, just put it up after you've created something that you like. Hashtag Tokyo House Party, and we will be able to find it. You can put that on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. We shall find it. So if you just upload your cool design, we'll draw a random winner once again for another cool prize, this one coming from Andre. So super excited. Definitely enter. Definitely draw something. We can't wait to see. And
Yes.
since we have been so chatty today, we want to make sure you get a chance to jump into Miss Hokusai. So I will turn that over to Derek.
Yep. And don't forget to tag us. Don't forget those hashtags. Want to make sure that's clear so it doesn't get lost in social media. I just dropped a link in channel for the Netflix party, and we will be accompanying you here in the chat as well as we all take a moment to enjoy a little bit of Miss Hokusai before transitioning over to Sentimental Tokyo, who will be handling capping off our night with city pop music and their DJ set. But to give you a little bit on Miss Hokusai, the synopsis of this film, as all of Edo flocks to see the work of the revered painter Hokusai, his daughter O.A. Toils diligently inside his studio. Her masterful portraits, dragons, and erotic sketches, sold under the name of her father, are coveted by upper crust lords and journeyman printmakers alike. shy, reserved in public. In the studio, OA is a brash, uninhibited, and uninhibited as her father, smoking a pipe while sketching drawing that would make contemporary Japanese ladies blush. But despite fiercely independent spirits, OA struggles under the domineering influence of her father and is ridiculed for lacking the life experience that she is attempting to portray in her art. I think you'll. This movie is amazing. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to hit that play button. And please enjoy Miss Hokusai. Let's get started. All right. So I hate to cut things short for those of you who were enjoying Miss Hokusai, but we want to hand things over to Sentimental Tokyo for you to cap off your evening with just one more of our favorite segments of the show, which is city pop music. And DJ Van Pogum, now known as Sentimental Tokyo on their Twitch channel, is going to be bringing that to you. I wanted to also note the Flint Tongue. Thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. This is kind of like a new thing for us, and for recently being able to we have Twitch affiliate status and provide other things. And so I know for a normal circumstance on Twitch channel, you usually get emojis and things like that. So I need to get my butt in gear and create some emojis so that you can have access to them. And so thank you so much for being that individual and supporting Tokyo House Party, because we are definitely eager to be able to bring more and more content. Sorry, our Nightbot is aggressive with spam messages. So
I'm going to be aggressive in saying thank you so much. And just to note that you can also support the Japanese Arts Foundation and Tokyo House Party on the Japanese Arts Foundation website, Tokyo House Party website. There's a donate button right there. We appreciate it so much. It really helps us do more things and support our community in different ways. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
yes, absolutely. So the last thing that we have in store for you, like I said, we're going to be taking our channel off to Sentimental Tokyo, who is live right now. This is one of our favorite ways to end our evening, because it's a really nice way to kind of go out on Tokyo House Party. I hope you enjoy city pop music, and I hope that you have a great time. Actually, I think a better feature might be to no, I'll just do the host. I'll instead of because the raids are like a whole nother thing. But
Submit your contest. We want to see your tattoo designs. Win something cool.
yes, please. Yes. So a few final things. Submit to that contest. Look forward to Saturday AM, and thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.